It's a wonderful time of year. Hallelujah. The sun's coming out again. We're starting to get some longer days, which is really nice. Bit of sunshine, bit of warmth. Still a bit cold at night. I've got the heater on inside. But it is lovely to see the sun coming out. It's been great. Today's guest is someone that we had been trying to get on for a little while. When producer Andrew and I were sitting down and we were throwing ideas of possible guests that we could have on, this was a name that producer Andrew contributed, and I was like, well, yeah, this would be good. I don't really know much about the guy. It seems pretty cool. So we tried, but couldn't make it happen because it's super busy. So the fact that he was able to come in and sit down with us and take some time out of his hectic schedule to actually talk about who he is, how he got into his profession, and where he's going now is amazing. As a creator as well, it was one of those podcasts that I was so stoked that we could do, and it was real privilege to have him on. So I'm going to shut up. You guys can enjoy this. Let's sit down and have a conversation with Kevin Etherington.
Here to fuck spiders, though.
No, I love. Now, where does that saying come from?
I don't know, mate.
It sounds Australian.
I picked it up off some builder, and it just
yeah. That's it's a great saying. We'll try this again. Technical issues aside, Kevin Etherington, thank you very much for being in the Five Elements Media studio tonight for the Northland Artists Conversation.
I love. Hey, thank you, Mark.
No, thank you,
and Anaru. Where does the name Five Elements come from? I love that. It reminds me of an old movie, Bruce Willis movie, The Fifth Element.
Fifth Element.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you want? Okay, so I'll tell you the real story.
Oh no, fuck, was he on that one? He might not have been. He was. Okay, yeah.
Bruce Willis, Gary Oldman, Mila Jovovich, directed by Luc Besson. But
this guy.
I'm that guy. So Five Elements Media came from Captain Planet.
Okay.
The cartoon.
Oh wow!
From the 90s.
Oh man!
Yeah, Earth, Fire, Wind, Water, Heart.
Yeah.
Go Planet.
Yeah.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet. Then it had this song, which was Captain Planet. He's our hero. Gonna take pollution down to zero. I'm not doing the rest of it.
The Don Cheadle version is the best.
That's Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle played Captain Planet, and Whoopi Goldberg played Gaia, the Earth Mother.
Oh wow!
As well, but that's where it comes from. That's
Sounds
actually
like
the origin of it.
Absolute classic. Yeah,
it was amazing. Well ahead of its time. But so that's where Five Elements Media comes from. I like the idea of. So I'm not originally from Northland like yourself. I'm an import. I come from Gisborne originally. So for me. The beaches is very, very important, and I moved up here to be closer to my son, to be a more present and active father in his life.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and
really cool.
Northland, to me, is a larger version of Gisborne. Great surf spots, some amazing places, and I absolutely love it. So when I got the opportunity to move up here, I grabbed it, and to me, having visited a lot of different places, say Ahipara, or Marapuri for surf, water, Tane Mahuta, and a lot of the big milestone places around Northland. I thought, and there's a lot of heart here, and you only have to watch that when the Tunnies play down at the stadium, right? Everyone's out in full force. So for me, Captain Planet, it was a weird connection. I don't know how it works. So sometimes that's how creative's brain works.
It's such a good backstory.
Yeah, well, that's where it comes from. But we're not here to talk about me.
No, enough for you, mate. What about me?
I
am here. All right.
All right. So we're going to do what what a lot of the younger culture do nowadays. And we're going to talk about you. We're going to focus. It's all about you, Kev.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
We're not going to get into all that sort of shit, though. Well, we can. I don't know. Good thing is about these podcasts, I have no idea where we're going to go. So I don't have it all pre-planned out in my head. We don't
Exciting.
we don't have 20 questions. So where we end up is where you lead us, and I'm simply the guide. If you
All right.
will.
Okay.
Okay. So you currently you've got just look down that camera and you can see. For those of you that are listening, Kev's got a hat which says FaceBox. Now that's the company that you run, right? And what does that company? And you've got the T-shirt.
It's just I kind of came from work and then home, and I was just like, okay, boom.
Yeah.
And I just wear a cap a lot these days to hide the greys. Really,
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
That's it. Hide the recede or the thinning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do.
You do. I have no idea where I'm growing my hair
All the-
long.
apparently, all the cool kids wearing these. I just found out it was called a cap yesterday.
A cap.
So
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Wicked, man.
yeah.
So FaceBox is what exactly is FaceBox as a business?
Oh, okay. You want to start? Yeah, okay. Okay. So we are a video production company specializing in a couple of niche products, really.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know.
We could probably sort of dive into that later if you wanted to.
Should we dive on into that a little bit later on?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, let's do that because I think the interesting thing is how you ended up there with FaceBox. Because I think I'm going to put this down. One of the big things when we've talked with our creatives over nearly year and a half we've been doing this is that not all of them have started off where they are now. There's been a journey of discovery, so some people, we've had some people that were not creative at all, and then, in their 30s or 40s, they might have found like pottery, for example, or cooking or other things, but they've had no creativity whatsoever. We've had people that have been academics and then discovered creativity and then gone, well, the academia was fine and we'll leave away. So where did you start your creative journey?
Yeah. Great question, Mark. I left school when I was 16. I grew up in Margaret in South Auckland. Monger. And which, the Pākehā meaning of Margaret is lazy, which I subscribed to a lot when I was younger. And so,
yeah,
basically, and like it was cool. I had some cool mates, that sort of thing. I always felt like I was in this world that wasn't me. Like, so I was adopted at 2 weeks old.
Hey,
and,
so was I.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And we found each other.
Amazing. My lost brother.
Cue the slow-mo run and hug.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get some like really beautiful orchestral music come through as we're like, run. Yeah. Chariots of Fire.
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah.
This is awesome. Anyway, and I remember, so I met my birth parents who weren't together, but were both in Aussie when I was 18. But before that, like 14, 15, I remember thinking, man, like I really want to learn how to surf. And back then there was no internet.
Yeah.
And the closest water we had to us was the sewage ponds. And I didn't know.
Only hunger, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know where this sort of hankering or longing came from. Turns out my father was a competition surfer. He was like, number 2 or 3 in NZ or whatever.
Wow.
Had his own shaving business at the age of 16, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, it was really weird. So I kind of felt like I never belonged. But my parents, who to me are my, true, real parents that raised me, were amazing parents. But a couple of little anecdotes from growing up there. First day of high school in Margaret College.
Yeah.
Got into a fight standing out the very first classroom on the first day with a Black Power prospect. And
I mean, why not?
Jason Torpia, if you're watching this, bro. No, we ended up being mates. He's a good fella. But that first day.
Yeah.
But
So my first day of primary school, I got pushed off the high wire and landed and fell and cried. And then 10 years later, this was in Whanganui, and then we moved to Gisborne, and then 10 years later, this kid turns up at my school, and I find out, oh yeah, we went to the same primary school. And he was like, man, you remember that kid that fell off the high wire on his first day? I was like, yeah. And he goes, man, that was so funny, I pushed him off. And then I punched him in the face. He was like, what the fuck was that for? And I was like, that was me, cock. Still best friends to this day.
Classic.
Still best friends to this day. Michael Rota, love you, mate. You're the best.
There you go.
Isn't that funny, though?
Things often come full circle.
Yeah.
But I digress. So I left. So I had this neighbour called Jimmy. And, mate, we were best mates, from the age of 13. He kind of moved in next door at the age of 13 and had a real special bond. Anyway, he ended up working on a farm in Northland.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In a place called Monganui Bluff, which is on the road from Dargaville to Hokianga.
That's the one.
And he come back one weekend because he'd get a weekend off a month, right? And he comes back, and I had like maybe 3 or 4 jobs by then, didn't really know what I was going to do with myself, had left school, and I thought I had it sussed because I left school when I was 16.
Yeah.
And to get the dole back then, all you needed was a leaving certificate.
Yeah.
And it would take 6 weeks before you get paid, and they'd give you this big back pay. And I thought, man, I'll leave, and then I'll get this big back pay 6 weeks later, and then I'll go back to school.
Yeah.
Because, it's the end of the year. You get like
Brilliant.
6-7 weeks holiday. Yeah, it was a great plan. Had it sussed. Bought my first car off the back of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sky Blue 1969 Mark I Ford Escort.
Great car.
1300. And it was a great car. Anyway, comes to go back to school, and Mum, Dad, I'm going to go back to school now. I've sort of, changed my ways. And Dad's like, no, bro, you're getting a fucking job. And I went, no way. So that sort of, Anyway, so Jimmy comes back for the weekend, and he's like, oh, Kev, come up north, bro. It's me and Az.
Yeah.
So I literally just fucking jump in the car with him, and I said to Mum, Dad, goodbye, I'm going up north. And we head up north to Monganui Bluff. So the owner of the farm was his uncle by marriage.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're there a week, right? Mm-hmm. And about 2 a.m, he wakes us up, and he comes in, and it was cool. His wife would make the mean breakfasts, it was so good.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, it was July. Anyway, so it's cold, it's West Coast, comes and wakes us up. The lambs are drowning, come down. So we jump on the back of his, 4-wheel quad thing, get down, there's like this gully, and I can still see it so vividly. There's this gully, and it's raining, and Jimmy goes in the water and starts pulling the lambs and passing them to me, and I'm taking them on the bank, because they're drowning. And he loses his footing and starts drowning himself. I jump in, and like, I'm no strong swimmer, but I managed to pull him out, and we both get to shore, I suppose you'd call it. Normally it's land if it wasn't raining so hard. And climbing the hill, and all we see, and it's kind of like the scene out of Footlock Flats, right? The cartoon.
I know the one, yeah.
If you haven't seen that, viewers, check that out.
Yep.
And the rain is coming down in front of these headlights, and he's sort of standing up, and he's just got this bellowing laughter like, and we're pulling him out. And Jimmy, he always did have a little bit of a short fuse.
Right.
So he takes a swing at his uncle.
Oh.
His uncle dodges the swing,
Yeah.
pulls out his flare gun and points it at both our heads.
Wow.
And says, get the fuck off my land.
Wow.
We walk in pitch black, there's no lights, in the rain for, I don't know, what seemed like hours and hours. Just before dawn, we get to the local marae. And I'm not actually sure the name of the marae, but we were heading towards Dargaville, so it was in Kaihu somewhere. It was on the left.
Yep.
Viewers, you may know this. Might even be your marae. And we're there. They put us up for 3 days. Man, they fed us.
Cool. Yeah,
They
nice.
looked after us.
Yeah.
So thank you. And, that was awesome of them. And then we go to town, and it's like, we need some place to live, da-da-da. So we go to what is WINS now, but back then it was social welfare. And they're like, "Oh no, we can't give you anything yet. Yeah, well, where are we going to live?" And Jimmy got quite vocal. He was kind of like bad cop. I was good cop.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he was like, well, what are we going to do? And he's like, man, I'll come around to your place and raid your fridge and all this sort of stuff. And I'm just sort of saying to her, hey, listen, it's just, we don't have anywhere to go. I'm playing the emotional angle.
Yeah.
Anyway, they gave us some kind of food grant. And we ended up managing to get a flat like a few days later. This guy, no way was he going to let his flat out at Bailey's Beach to, two 17-year-old guys. I had hair halfway down my ass.
Right,
We're both looking rugged as. But I just said to him those key words when you're negotiating any deal, I'll pay double.
Yeah.
And he was like, right, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And we did. For 3 weeks, we paid double the rent.
Yeah.
And I don't remember his name, but redneck farmer that took advantage of us. Shame on you. If you were. We were homeless. So we're opposite the shop as you come into Bailey's Beach. There's this driveway and you go down. There's like 2 houses on the right and it's the one right at the end. It's a 2-story. And the flat was in the bottom was literally completely concrete. Nothing in there. The only thing that was in there was 2 big cardboard signs. It was like artwork, and they were huge, like the size of a door but wider. And one had the peace sign on it, and one had written flower power. And so for the next 3 months, we just lived on fry bread, Marmite, and weed. Like that was a stable diet.
Cornerstone of any nutritious meal.
Exactly. Yeah, got all the main nutrients in there.
Yeah. Veggies.
Yeah, and shout out to the Salvation Army, the Sallies. It gave us single beds, mattresses, stuff like that. So
that's cool, man.
So anyway, that's how I got to Northland. I ended up having a couple of different jobs, and then I found my calling. I felt as a barman. And I fucking love that job. Like, I would be a barman tomorrow. Like, not really, but, if there was nothing else going, it was awesome. I absolutely loved it. And I kind of found like I got a, almost like a street degree in psychology because you get to talk to people from all walks of life. So you're reading body language and what's going on the rest of it. So it was very, very good. Anyway, at the age of, I think I was 22, I got made duty manager at the Carmel Hotel, which was called the Cobb & Co. And back in the day, that used to go off on a Thursday night, like it would pump. It was like a club downtown. Well, not like the ones these days because they don't really pump that much, but it would
Northland.
Yeah, it would go off. Anyway, this guy and funny enough, another local guy was working behind the bar. Who goes by the name of Mike Aldred, who runs Roost now. Shout out to you, bro.
Mike.
The bro.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, he was duty manager before me, actually. Then I don't know what happened there, but then they made me duty manager.
Yeah.
Which was all good until I didn't lock the door one night, and they kind of frowned upon that behaviour. So being a bar, so... Yeah, it wasn't too good. But anyway, so while I'm there, this is really a long answer to your question. While I'm there, there's a DJ there.
Yeah.
Okay, by the name of Steve James.
Okay.
Okay, which was a, do you call it a pseudonym? Is that what you call it when they go? It kind of wasn't his real name. It kind of is, but it kind of wasn't.
Yeah.
Sort of switched up his last name. There's another story behind that. He would have to tell that. I don't feel at liberty to expose those details. But he said, man, do you want a job as a DJ?
Yeah.
So he must have thought that I kind of half knew what I was doing or could at least hold a conversation, which I could. And so I trained with him for like maybe 18 months, 2 years. So I would run his second rig.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the first, mate, there's a lot of full circles coming back here because, we're in Carmel now.
Yes.
The bar was in Carmel.
Yes.
And my first gig was at the Carmel Rugby Club.
Oh, wow.
And that first night, they loved it that much. Like, it was my first ever gig. I didn't really know what I was doing. They wanted me to play an hour extra. And so I was kind of like hooked. So that got me into the music biz, as it were, DJ biz. Worked with him for a couple of years, got my own system, built that up to 4 systems. So I had,
Yeah.
I counted it up one day, hired and trained like 25 different DJs throughout the years.
Oh, wow.
Around here, which is cool. And when I say that, like it sounds, oh, that's a lot. A couple of them only lasted one night, you know, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it was good, man. Like I did that for 15 years straight, run a
Wow.
business doing that.
Okay.
But along that journey, along that path,
Yeah.
I got into music production. You know,
Okay.
I used to play a little guitar and
Yeah.
and sing. I enjoyed that. I got into music production, so I scooped up this thing called a groove box, a Roland MC505 groove box,
That sounds familiar.
and I'd be making beats,
Yeah.
and man, it was like some kind of music crack. Like I would get up at 3 a.m, like I'm talking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and I would just be making beats and programming and all the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
And for hours and hours on end, I couldn't get enough of it. And I submitted this song into what they had the Coca-Cola Search for Sound.
Oh, yes. I do remember that. Yeah, that's crazy.
And got in the top 10 on that. That was through my FM, and with a single I'd made, and so that was cool. And the guys come up from Auckland. One of them was Vic Stent. So Vic Stent was the guy that sort of signed Paulie Fuamana from How Bizarre and all the rest of it. Yeah. He used to he used to head up Universal, I think it was. Anyway, long story short, he seemed to think I had some promise. So then I had like an email and a contact from there, made another track. And they loved it. So they said, hey, we want to sign you. And I was like, wow, that's cool because I want to be signed.
Yeah.
So,
Meeting of the minds.
So I went to Auckland and re-recorded the track in their studio down there. And the guy who was engineering was from, remember that group, the Dubious Brothers? That rap group? I think they were from Hamilton. Waikato, nah. They had like a couple of singles, like literally number 1 or, at least top 10.
I was going to say the name.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what the songs were, but I do remember the name.
Yeah, the Dubious Brothers. Anyway, they were good, man. They had a couple of good tracks. I can't remember the guy's name. One dude was Māori, but the guy who was the engineer there, ginger guy, good fella. Anyway, we recorded the track. Jay, who was their lawyer, said, man, here's the contract. We need to instruct you, read it through. You need to see a lawyer to make sure everything's cool and sign it. I went, oh, okay. I thought, man, I don't know what any of this jargon means. It's like thick,
Yeah.
And so I'm back in Whangarei and I'm reading the contract and I'm like, oh, man, I need to ring a lawyer. So I must have looked in the Auckland Yellow Pages at the post office maybe. No. I would have Googled. Google wasn't big back then. It might have been one of those other search engines. But this is circa 2006, 2005 maybe. Yeah, 2005. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, right. And so I'm like, I rang it. I got hold of an entertainment lawyer, and he goes, "Well, man, congratulations, dude. So this is my music. They just signed Catch a Fire, right?
Yeah.
And he said, they know how to pick talent, so good on you. That's awesome. But if you want to make money, don't sign it. And I went, what do you mean? And I had then 4 kids, okay? And it was like I got this flash, like this kind of visualization where I was in a gas station.
Yeah.
And everyone knew me. And everyone's like whispering and looking. And then my FPOS card got declined. Okay.
Yes.
So I had this sort of like epiphany, like, man, I could make it and enjoy this, but it's not going to be able to support the kids yada, yada.
Yeah.
So after talking with him, I rang them and I said, man, I'm not going to sign it. I'm sorry, but thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like, I lost all, like, it lost meaning for me. It was kind of like, you know how they say, what's that song? It's some sort of cheesy Disney song or something about the climb, it's the mountain, and when you get there, it's the journey, not the peak. Yeah, you probably it's something, it's something like that, right?
Yeah.
But there's a million different songs that represent that.
They do,
yeah. Try not to vomit. And and it was kind of like the entire thing I was going for
Yeah.
was to get this recording contract.
Yeah.
And I'd achieved that. And it's like, check, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, along that journey, okay, while I was doing that, I'd seen this ad in the paper, and they were, it said, oh, people that are interested in video and video editing, all that sort of thing, come down to 155 Community House and yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
And I had just made a short film with my son, and this is tracking back a couple of years now, just before 2003. Made a short film with my son, and it was like a Mission Impossible sort of theme. And one quick take from the scene, we had these two big dogs, right?
Yeah.
Mastiffs. And to get them to make it look like they were attacking him, he's climbing the fence, and he's standing on the fence, he's looking back, he's going, no, no. And I just smeared dog food along where the, halfway up the fence, and they're...
Yeah.
Such a look, it actually looks legit.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go with that one. So I went down 105 Community House, and I met a guy by the name of Alex Mason.
Yeah.
Who's son of Carol. You probably know Alex. And we formed this group called the Dream Collective. Out of the Dream Collective came Channel North. So I was on the first board of trustees there.
Oh,
which
wow. Okay.
was completely useless, really, because I was more the creative. I was like, when are we going to make some shit?
Yeah.
And they were setting things up, So that's kind of how I got into video. And they, of course, had community cameras available. So I started to learn how to shoot.
Yeah.
Took it from there, videography. So that's kind of how I got into it, which would have been maybe 06 or 07, around that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Northland Artists Conversation is proud to support Te Kōwhai Print Trust. Te Kōwhai Print Trust are an amazing organisation that are located on Selwyn Ave in Whangarei. Te Kōwhai Print Trust do such amazing things as being a workshop and educational facility in fine art printmaking, as well as keeping a nationally significant historical archive of fine art prints. These guys are absolutely amazing. I had a chance to meet up with them last year, and the work they do is so incredibly cool. It's just amazing the types of things you can do, from like screen printing to lithography. Absolutely unreal, and it's so much fun as well. So Northland Artists Conversation are incredibly proud to support Te Kōwhai Print Trust. Having basically discovered in 2006 that filmmaking and editing was kind of going to be the path that you went down, was there any creativity before? Because it's always interesting, did you do drawing, or was you interested in singing or music or acting or anything along those lines in your school years?
Yeah, I did, man. It's actually a really sad story, but I will tell it.
Please feel free to share.
Okay, so I'm in school, right? And you know how you have different cliques, right?
Yes.
I was part of the Bogan clique.
Right.
And so all the bros, everyone was too cool for school, yada, yada, yada. They'd be on the field. Everyone was, I was a non-smoker, ironically, which was not cool back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone would smoke, and, anyway, long story short, they had, when I was in fifth form, which you may need to Google that, people, if, you want to
Producer Andrew, what is fifth form in year terms now? Is it like year 10? Or
11 is the right answer. I've just added it up. Yeah.
Okay, year 11.
Yeah, year 11.
So fifth form equals year 11.
Year 11.
Yeah.
When I was in year 11, so, which happened to be my final year, so they were doing the musical Grease.
Oh, yes. Great musical.
Oh, man. And I was like, dude, I would love to be a part of that. I just had this actor inside of me.
Yeah.
And I was already learning to play the guitar and sing.
Oh, okay.
And
right,
I wanted to act in it,
Yeah.
But I couldn't say a word to my mates. Like, they'd be like, what the hell, you know? And some other terminology, which is not cool nowadays.
Yes.
And,
I can think of a few of those mildly inappropriate words nowadays.
Exactly, Mark.
Yeah.
But I would go and look, man. So whether I'd have their rehearsals,
Yeah.
I'd like peek round the door and then through, and it was kind of, I would just get carried away in my mind and think, man, if I could do that, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
But there was, I don't know what it was. Obviously, a lack of social courage might be the word for it back then.
Sure.
To say, bros, I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
You know, and you can fucking sit around and talk shit all day and smoke if you want. I'm going to go in there and put a leather jacket on and sing, you know. And but I didn't. And I attended the musical, and a guy who played the lead, a guy by the name of Anthony Colosi, who was fantastic, great in the role, ended up being a principal, I believe, at Ngātapawa College.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is another school in Mangere.
Yep.
Anyway, he ended up playing the lead, did a fantastic job. The musical was amazing. It was so good.
Yeah.
But you can imagine I'm sitting down there just the whole time thinking, oh, that could have been me, could have done that, I would have done that, you know, the whole time, man. And so just massive, I suppose, regret around that.
Sure.
Because,
right.
okay, what would have happened if I had done that?
Yep.
From there, I would have learned about, this is how they light it.
Yeah.
You know, this is how they, you know, rig the mics or whatever. You know, this is how they do that. And so I could have, you know, fallen in this industry a lot sooner, like, you know, 10, 15 years sooner. I mean, I don't know. At the same time, I could have just, you know, not happened. But yeah, so definitely the yearning, the longing for it. I remember we had our creative speeches, and I did mine on glue sniffing. So we had a little bit of a glue sniffing epidemic back then, late 80s, man.
I remember that, yeah.
ADOS, paint. I remember one of the bros saying, "Oh man, I was watching the Smurfs, and next minute Papa Smurf just jumped out of the TV, walked along the carpet, and jumped on my hand, and we had this conversation.
Yeah.
It was unreal." And I'm just, far out. Anyway, so I'm doing...
Yeah, man. I remember those days.
I act out the speech rather than speak it. So I'm dressed up like I'm homeless. I'm sniffing. I stumble in the room. I collapse on the floor and all the rest of it. Like, everyone else is just reading their speeches.
Yeah.
So that must have been a sign, right? That, you know, I wanted to act, wanted to get into it.
So that obviously then brings me to my next question. Mm-hmm. And if you were someone that had always yearned to do acting, where do you think life would have taken you if you'd have chosen to actually step up into that musical grease and not you know, be so concerned with the social pressures that there would have been from the guys? Would you have pursued that acting path?
I definitely think I would have been in the industry somewhere.
Okay.
Because I freaking love it, right? So I definitely think that would have been, you know, something that just really sort of ignited something in me, and just taken me there. Yeah.
Would you have been behind the scenes or in front?
I think I would have tried to be in front at first.
Yeah.
Whether or not I had the chops for it, I mean, who knows, man? Like, you know, if I had had some training or whatever, I don't know. But I pretty sure I would have tried to be in front, you know, and then step back later in life.
Right, okay.
You know, behind the scenes, yeah.
So you still could have ended up where you are now.
Funny that.
Yeah, crazy, man. It's interesting.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Looking at it like you almost came to a fork in the road, when you were like, I can go act and the ridicule of my peers, or I can not act and keep status quo as it is.
Yeah.
So you have that fork in the road. And then with your mate, you're essentially at another fork in the road as well. So you've had these the path most travelled or the path least travelled.
Yeah, yeah.
And it just seems like, yeah, some really interesting things.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's it's funny when I found out and got contact details for my birth parents, right?
Yeah.
I'd arranged to meet them, so I'd bought a ticket to Sydney to meet my birth father, and we were going to travel up to meet my birth mother. So he was in Sydney, she was in the Sunshine Coast, and he hadn't seen her since he was 18 either. So
wow.
he was
Wow.
he was shitting bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what had happened in the interim, of course, I went to Wanganui Bluff, got kicked off this farm,
Yeah.
flare gun to the head. We end up in this little flat. And
Yeah.
then about 6 weeks after being in this flat, I'm lying in bed, we're in the Salvation Army bed.
Yeah.
It's Saturday night. It's 10 p.m. And it was like, there's nothing to do. We have
your fry bread and weed.
with fried bread and weed, and literally just that was it. Like there's nothing. We had no money. There was nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, and at that stage we didn't have a car anymore either. And then this dude comes running in the room, man, and he just shakes me like vigorously, just out of nowhere, just sprints in the room, like Kev, and I'm like, whoa, what's up? I'm thinking there's a fire. He goes, bro, there's 5 hot chicks in the lounge, and I'm like, fucking sprung out of bed, bro. God, I know you're real. Thank you. And I come out, man, and I see, and it sounds cliche, but I see the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And she's kneeling down by my little ghetto blaster,
Okay.
playing with my tapes. And I look around, and there's some other guys there as well, and some other chicks. And she turned around, and I was just like, holy fuck, like a 10.
Yeah,
Like not
yeah.
a 9.8, a 10.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck. And something came over me, like I was so not nervous to talk to her
Yeah.
because there was no possibility or whatever that we could ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like there's
Yeah,
no way
man.
she'd see
Yeah.
me, but there was one in the kitchen that looked quite easy, and I thought, when you're like, you see the lion and they're chasing the gazelle,
Yes.
and they say,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to go for that one.
Yes.
I was thinking the one in the kitchen looked like,
Yeah.
I could catch that one potentially, but there were already a couple other lions,
Sure.
sort of like pacing around her.
Yeah.
So I just thought, well, I'll wait till they, wear out, and I'll go and sit next to this beauty. And after all, she's, that's my ghetto blast. I can't remember what my opening line was, but anyway, I started talking to her, totally not nervous because it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And I just, and she tells me about her life. Like, she was like 18 months older than me. So she was
Okay, yeah,
mature.
yeah.
And she goes, I moved to Aussie when I was 16. And, and not back then, not a lot of people hit the gym. It wasn't like today. Everyone has a freaking subscription to probably
Yeah.
2 gyms, right?
Yeah.
And she, work out, blah, blah. And I said, oh, wow. And we lived on this sort of cliff top bank type thing,
Okay.
right? You kind of, it wasn't a rope. You didn't have to abseil down, but you had to climb down. There were
Yeah.
like handles. And I just said to her, are you into doing spontaneous things,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and she's like, yeah. And I go, okay. And we left the party and we climbed down the cliff. And we made our way, this is in Bally's Beach, we made
Yeah.
our way. And this is September 10th, West Coast waves,
Oh,
it's
wow.
cold as.
Yeah.
And so we just get to the beach and we strip off. We leave our undergarments on, and we just run into the water and we're just swimming, mucking around, all the rest of it. And I shit you not, Mark. We were a couple of meters away,
Yeah.
and we're laughing, walk to each other, but then the laughter kind of stops and can hardly see each other, right? And then just as I get close to her, man, the cloud pulls away, the moon comes out, and we kiss. True fucking story. I won't tell you what happened after, but that's what happened there.
I think we can all guess.
Yeah.
If it's September, I will go with shrinkage.
Wrong. And long story short, man, 2 weeks later, she was pregnant with my eldest child.
No way.
Yeah, so that's now my wife.
Wow, congratulations.
We have
man.
7 children. Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
yeah, it is.
Wow.
She's an awesome woman. Yeah. So yeah, so that's what happened there. So the point of this story, other than to tell the story,
Yeah.
is that I had already booked my ticket to go to Australia.
Yeah.
I was going to travel the entire world from there. You know what I mean? Like that was the plan, man.
Yeah.
That was the plan, to travel the entire world. So I was up for adventure.
Yeah.
You know, I was already hitching, you know, different places,
yeah.
and I hitched a lot in my younger years, you know. So yeah, that was the plan. But obviously things changed.
Yeah.
Ended up going to Australia still. I flew her out in March while she was hapu. Then I came back to see my son come into the world.
Yeah.
And the plan was I went back to get some work, and the plan was she's going to come over and we were going to sort of settle there.
Okay.
When I went back, they had like a building crisis because I was builder's labourer. That didn't happen. I came back to Whangarei. But yeah, that was the plan. So I was going to travel. And that's where acting and stuff, I reckon, would have come back in.
Yeah.
So a little
Yeah,
circly
far
background.
out, man. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Far out. So that's all around the 2000s, right? Early 2000s?
No. That's 1989, brother.
1989 this all happened.
1980, I was 17, yeah.
Okay. That's a hell of a lot. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Good times.
Yeah, let's just take a moment to linger on that.
Woosah.
Remember your pressure points. So yeah, hell of a lot of life experience sort of then. Before it's all bundled into 06 when you make that move with Dream Collective, and then you start doing your video production.
Might have even been 03, dude. Like, I'm just thinking now because we shifted houses in 03, and yeah, it might have been 03.
Wow.
Dream Collective, yeah. Could ask Alex; he would know. Yeah.
So, how did you get from 03 to 23? Because that's a hell of a lot. A lot of time in the industry. I'm guessing once you sort of found your people, you were like, "This, I'm not going anywhere."
Fuck, dude. It was actually by chance again. This is actually the first time I've told this story publicly.
Okay.
So, okay. And the message behind this, kids at home, okay, drinking does not pay, but in this case it did. Okay. Okay. So I'm DJing. Like, I DJ'd for years. I added it up once. It was like, I'd personally done like 2,500 gigs, right? A lot of years on the ones and twos, right?
Yeah.
And I prided myself on being able to take a venue that didn't have many people and build up, you know, to a weekly residency, you know.
Yeah.
One residency I had for 10 years, you know, others for a few years, you know. There was a formula, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm at this one bar that shan't be named in town, and I was playing there and built it up. Party spot, it was going great. Everything was going cool.
Yeah.
And I started really struggling with it, man. It was all hugs and handshakes. And you're the DJ, you're the cool guy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm there and I'm thinking, fuck, you know, I don't want to be here, man. I got 7 kids at home.
Yeah.
You know, the twins who were the youngest were just like, you know, a couple of years old. And I'm just like, fuck, this is the last place, you know, I really, you know, want to be. I'm over it. And, you know, the guys are coming, how's it, man? The chicks are coming, hey, you know, and you're playing the same shit every night, but it's going off and people are loving it. And I would walk in, man, with a pump bottle half full with vodka, straight past the bouncers to fucking numb my senses so I could...
So that's how you were that's what you were doing to get through
I was doing it to get through the sets,
Wow.
to numb myself because I just couldn't fucking stand... I was just so fucking over it. It wasn't funny, but we needed that money, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, I'd do it in the beginning of the night, you know, and And by the end, you know, I was feeling okay to drive. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I walked out to the van, and it wouldn't start. And I had an AA membership, which God rest his soul, my lovely mother bought for a birthday. Bought me for a birthday
cool.
many years ago, maybe 25 years, because I was always breaking down.
Yeah.
And she would renew it and send me a birthday card with the receipt every year.
That's very cool.
It's fucking gold, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Mum. And so called AA, and while I was waiting for AA, I thought, I'll have a quick beer.
Yeah.
Night had gone, people dissipated, and there was just like the staff there, bouncers cleaning up, and I had a beer. And I felt 100% right. AA came, got me started. I jumped in the car, and then, you know, the police pulled me over. And they were really nice, and they were friendly, and I was trying to crack a couple of jokes, just, you know, lighten the tension.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, man, it shows here you're over. We need to take you back to the station and take an actual test.
Okay.
And so I'd you know, blowing over, and I can't remember what I was, man. It wasn't much over. It was actually like, back then it was like 400 or whatever. I think it was like 470 or
Yeah.
So you know, had the photo, you know, got the portrait, mug shots, all the rest of it.
Oh man.
And cut a long story short, man, I lost my license. It was a year and 1 day, and this is like 2011, and I thought, man, I don't know how many hours community service, but it was shitloads, man. It was like hundreds and hundreds. And I thought, what the hell am I going to do? So I rang a community organization that I used to volunteer for that ran cameras from it. Probably shouldn't say any names, so we'll just leave it at that. And they graciously said, we would love you to volunteer, and we can sign your hours off, but we'll keep it between us. And before then, I had stepped away from film, like for 3 years or whatever. Wasn't interested anymore. I was doing other stuff.
Yeah.
I was doing sales. I was running sales teams, sales manager, different things. So that got me back into it. Yeah. Started renting cameras off them, started filming events, you know. Yeah. And that's what sort of, you know, swung me back in.
Nice.
And anyway, man, about a year after that, I think I had 3 jobs at the same time, something like that. It was often occurring event in my life. I had more than one job. Yeah. Just needed to keep that cash come rolling. And one of them was on the phones. And I was calling for a company booking appointments, and they really liked my work because I was booking more appointments than anyone else. Everyone else is like reading off a script, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you can tell they're reading off a script, where I would ring them and say, oh, how's it going? And they would just think I'm a mate or something. Yeah. And so it worked out really well. And they wanted me to, you know, book heaps of appointments. Anyway, I found out these guys were selling a newsletter for $199 a month, like a subscription. And I'm like, that's what I was booking appointments for. And I'm like, you're kidding me, $200, you write 1 email a month for them. And they had multiple clients. And I thought, okay. And then I thought, imagine if I included a video in the email. Yes. And did that. Yeah. Anyway, within half an hour, my mind was going crazy. I'd, you know, designed the whole business model and all the rest of it. And so what I did in my downtime, I think it took me about 3 weeks. I designed the website and all that. And before I launched it, I went to the lady who owned the business and I said, hey, listen, I want to start my own thing. Yeah. And it's not like what your clients are doing. It includes video production, which is my love, but it does include an email. So there's some conflict of interest. So I don't think it's right that I carry on. Yeah. And she did not take that well. I thought she would take it okay because we had a really good relationship. She did not take that well at all. So I left there and started up. Ironically, 2 weeks later, the guys rang me themselves. Said, you used to book appointments for us, mate. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. And then as a funny turn of events, 3 years later, they become video clients.
I was just about to say, please tell me they became clients. That's funny.
Yeah, So, anyway, so that kind of swung me back, and that model, I started on a subscription model, which I believe back then no one was doing with video. I certainly hadn't heard of anyone doing it. So
No.
it was super attractive, giving lots of video on a subscription-based payment per monthly to people. So I started in my garage. Within 2 months, employed my first editor, which was Jeff. Shout out to Jeff in the Philippines.
Jeff.
To Jeff.
Yeah, buddy.
And then a couple of months later, got the first studio. I moved in with a cool lady by the name of Teresa Watkins, Monster Graphics.
Oh, nice.
You know T?
Yeah.
She's lovely. And so she was my first roomie, so I rented like an office off her.
Yeah.
And stayed there for a year. And so I had 2 editors there. Then I brought on my business partner, who's amazing, Raywin Barry.
Yeah.
So she come on, I think we'd been in the studio maybe 1 or 2 months, and she come on, took a massive pay cut to join us.
Yeah.
She believed in the vision, so she's a business partner, shareholder as well.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, and so we kind of just grew from there.
Yeah, cool, man.
Did that sound like, was I rambling a lot, or did that make sense?
Does it matter?
Probably not.
No.
I don't know. How many whiskies have we had at home? Yeah. That's kind of it, man. Yeah, how it went, how it kicked off.
So if you were to look, let me ask you a retrospective question. Where you are now versus where you were 20 years ago, when all of this kind of started, took off, things happened, you got back into the industry, you were feeling it all over again. Did you think where you are now is where you would end up?
Mark, that's a really good question, man. I don't think so, eh? I remember at the time just being curious. You know what I was curious about? I was curious about how the fuck do you edit video? Like, I had no idea. I had this little camcorder thing.
Yep.
Had just filmed this video of my son, like short film, and I had no idea like how you cut it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? And so I was curious. I wasn't really thinking about a career because, to be honest, the DJ business was going well. I wasn't looking at doing anything else, man. Well, actually, that's not true. I did have a couple of side hustles while I was doing the DJ business. A couple of side businesses. We ran an urban clothing store for a very short period of time, and had another business servicing Northland with consumer goods. And then I had the Sky TV contract actually for a while.
Oh, wow.
Door-to-door sales, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, kia ora.
Yeah.
Kia ora. How you guys? Oh, what? Yeah, I just see you don't have a Sky TV.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. Hey, I got a deal for you, bro.
Let me tell you what you're missing out on.
Yeah. Nah.
Movie channels, sport,
Yeah.
Parliament TV. Oh, wait.
Yeah, and if you get it today. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one low price.
Yeah. So Canvas Northland doing that with a little bit of a team. So yeah, but I wasn't really looking to make a career. I don't think I even thought you could make a career doing that, really.
Yeah.
I never really thought about doing that for money. It was just something from an artistic standpoint that I was really curious about and wanted to explore, and I suppose one of the guys there in the Dream Collective, it was kind of like the founding forefather, really. John, he now actually he's a funeral director now at Morris & Morris, soul of the earth guy. He used to train students in Wellington, on video production, all the rest of it. Very skilled. Actually, ironically, I knocked on his door for Sky. That's where I first met him, mate.
Of course you did.
That's where I first met him. Yeah, he didn't sign up either. Yeah, but anyway, got him in the end.
Yeah.
So anyway, met him there, and I think if he wasn't there, then I wouldn't have been introduced to the commercial potential of of videography.
Right, okay.
You know, because he was filming, you know, weddings and funerals and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Because the other guys were just, let's make short films and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
So, which is probably a good segue into my first shot at directing. In 2000 maybe 6, it says it at the beginning of the movie. It was when 48 Hours had just come out, the 48 Hour Film Fest. It might have been like the first ever one, maybe, or the second one, or it might have been the first one where you're allowed to enter if you were in Whangarei, like out of town.
Right. Yep.
So I jumped on that and I said, hey, I want to form a group and I want to direct. Never done any of that before. And so we assembled. The old library had just been decommissioned.
Okay. Yeah.
They opened the new library. And literally about 30 of us assembled on the Friday night. And I was directing my mate Dubsy, who I was just talking to actually on the way over here.
Yeah.
Anadu knows Dubsy, was the writer. And at the time, he was a creative writer. He was working for KWC. He was a radio jock and a writer there. Anyway, he was writing, but we had a whole host of Northland talent who were very gracious to me. Lee Tucson, old Gold Teeth. There was a stack of them. I probably don't want to mention everyone's name because then I'll definitely forget a couple of people. But there was some seasoned actors. Why has it slipped my memory? You will know this. Kelly Johnson, Goodbye Pork Pie fame.
Blondini.
Yeah, he acted in it.
Yeah. Wow.
We had Brian, American Brian, actor. Brian. Sattersfield.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was in it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And stack of other people. Anyway, so my mind's casting back there. Anyway, so everyone's like sitting around. Oh, what should we make it about? Let's do it about this. Let's do it about that. Because we'd just been given our category. It was a coming of age film.
Okay. Yeah.
Our line was what was our line? That's escaped me. I think the prop was a chicken. No, it was a mirror, something like that. Either way, there's a chicken and a mirror in it. Anyway, stack of people there. So people, what should we do it about? What should we do it about? Anyway, Dubsy just pipes up, and it's kind of like, one of those moments where the room just, there's 30 people talking. It happens to go quiet at the wrong time.
Yes.
That's what happened.
Right.
And Dubsy goes, let's just do it about a guy's first wank. And I was like, genius. That's a genius move, Dubsy. So the movie's called, the number one coming of age film of all time, or at least in the top 5.
Was it spelled C-U-M-M-I-N-G?
Nice, Mark. You can see where I'm going with this.
You can.
One of the best coming of age films of all time is Stand By Me, right? The
Yes,
4 guys.
absolutely.
So we called it Stained By Me. Okay. Oh man, and that kind of
oh my God,
that kind of set the tone. That kind of set the tone for the weekend. So yeah, we just went balls out. It was amazing. I didn't really know what I was doing. Brian and Lee really helped carry a lot of that weight during that shoot. But I learnt a stack while I was doing it, right?
Yeah.
And made some calls, made some director calls. The music, a lot of the music we played live, I literally just had a guitar, and because I'd written a stack of originals, played live. I also had some produced tracks, so they were in there as well.
Oh wow!
Because
nice.
I didn't sign to a record label, so I could make that call, right? So there you go, boom. Yeah. So and man, the tension just before. So Alex was editing, and he could not get it off. He couldn't get it off the tape, or something was happening. Anyway, had a technical issue. And back then, you did it with a JP, so we had a justice of the peace on stand to make sure we had finished within time.
Yep,
and I can't remember the guy's name, but he gave us a little leeway. Oh, mate, they won't know if it was only 20 minutes over. It's just like, dude, you dodgy JP, you.
Yeah.
but I was like, yeah, good on you, mate. But it would take the piss a bit. It got up to half an hour, and the guy goes, "Oh, mate, I can't sign off on this, mate. I'm gonna have to go home, tea and bickies, whatever." And so we didn't get it on time, but we were still allowed to show it and enter and
cool.
and all the rest of it. And I think we got voted like audience pick or whatever for our category. So it was something like that. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But, or maybe the guy, Ant Timpson, who you've probably heard of.
Yes. Wow.
He might have commented. There was some acknowledgement made and said, shit, guys, you did well for your first entry. So, so that was cool. Yeah, that was good. How did we get into that?
Well, it was...
the 20-year back
talking about
thing.
a 20-year retrospective question.
Yeah.
So, let's get everyone up to date now, because obviously you guys have got something that's pretty unique in the market at the moment, and I had a bit of a look at it before you turned up for the podcast. 50, and we're going to make sure I get this right, 50 videos for $2,500, is that right?
Oh, right, you're talking about our product, yeah. So the product's name is 25 videos for 25 videos for 2,500. So how that came about was during COVID, shit got hard, man.
Yeah. Entertainment as a whole took a beating.
So to keep our studio, we've just moved into a new studio, but our old studio was in the Now Place Business Park, right? And we were there 6 years, like 6 years and a week or something. To keep that studio running, I literally had to get a full-time job. So I was doing 8 hours for the job and 8 hours in the studio for 5 months to make sure we could pay the rent and keep going. And the irony of this was I was on the COVID info line. Okay, so it was true story, man.
Oh wow!
So I'm on the phones and kia ora, reach the COVID info line. It's Kevin. How may I help you? And they're like, whatever. And we're trying to do just take the knife and end it now. And you're fucked, bro. No, never did that. No, we helped them through. I actually enjoyed it. It was a good crew to work for, and enjoyed helping out. But some of the things I heard definitely makes you think twice about things. But we won't go down that rabbit hole. Yeah. So out of the fire, out of the ashes, they say the phoenix will rise. Yeah. During that period of time, we had to get incredibly creative and think, what product can we develop that the market will love and it'll sell itself, right? Yeah. So I just read a book called $100 Million Offers by a guy by the name of Alex Hormozy, who's just a complete freaking weapon when it comes to sales and business models and that sort of thing. So just read that. And short form content was everywhere, TikTok and, and all the rest of it. So it was like, man, the market wants bulk short form content. Yes. So we developed this product. We thought, step before that, we had to redevelop our website because we are working with this marketing company in Auckland. And they said, man, I get it. You want to run Google Ads, but your site is way too slow. So it was either rebuild it, sort of patch it or rebuild it from the ground up. Yeah. So I didn't want to fuck with the look of it because I was really happy with the look, but I sort of got over myself and I just literally rebuilt a new website from the ground up. And then I was stoked with it. I thought, man, that looks better than the first one. But we were optimizing for speed all the way. So I learned all this shit about how to make a website fast. And I heard about this thing called schema markup. And I was like, what is schema markup? Yeah, okay. And there's like 30-something different kinds of schema markup. And one of them is FAQs. And what happens is, and if you want to check this out, audience, go to schema.org or just YouTube it like everyone does. Yeah. And what happens is it's a language or a way that Google can decipher your content more easily and deliver the people that are browsing a way more rewarding and rich experience. Okay. So what happens, basically what I'm trying to say is, so for example, there's Schema FAQ. So if you use a Schema FAQ plugin, it's more likely to be seen than someone who doesn't have a schema FAQ
right,
as a
okay.
normal FAQ.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's schema articles and all sorts of different things. So I wrote, and then I learned about the power of FAQs. And so I wrote 31 FAQs. And I said to Ray, our head of production, I said, man, these answers, they're kind of like little video scripts. You know, why don't we just record little videos? Because video ranks, it's good for SEO, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, cool. And we filmed them, and we did like 31 videos in an hour and a half. And it was like, holy shit, alarm bells went off.
Yeah.
We can package this up into a product for our clients.
Yeah.
So boom, 25 videos for 2,500 was born, and most of our clients finished in an hour and a half. The record is 55 minutes.
Wow.
Filming 25 videos. So we film, edit, and deliver. And where the 50 videos come in is we deliver 25 in landscape and 25 in portrait.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, Mark. People think they're paying 2,500 for 25 videos, but that's not what they're doing. They're really getting that for free.
Yeah.
The value is in the strategy.
Yep.
Okay, and we go deep on strategy with people, and that is where like 100% of the value is. Are the videos good? Yeah, they're fucking great. We use great cameras. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, our editing team is awesome, but having this, there's no use making content if you don't know who you're trying to reach,
Yeah.
or what message you're trying to convey. You know, or what platform they're hanging out on. You know, you need a complete strategy. So that's where the value is. And, you know, to be completely transparent, that is what we call a top of the funnel product. So that brings people into our world.
Yep.
And from there, we help them and coach them on strategy, and publishing, and, you know, a lot of other services that we offer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's kind of like a gateway product.
It's a gateway drug, a Trojan horse, call it what you will.
Yeah, which is great because, you know, people look at it and clearly they're going to see the value. I mean, I've you know, before starting this up, I'd seen the ads and I was like, man, it's mint. What a great idea.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
How can I do that and charge like $2,300? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Always undercut. But I just thought it was such an innovative idea because, you know, nowadays video is kind of a widely chosen platform. You know, as we've become a society that is Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, you know, YouTube Shorts and all those, we tend to consume more content than we do like listening to straight music. You know, if I go back 20 years, which, you know, I'm still going to be old, but we were going. You'd buy a CD and you'd buy a CD for one or two songs, and then you might pick up another couple of songs that you like. But it was all, you know, you might watch TV and movies, but there wasn't that proliferation of video content that there is now because it's everywhere.
It's on tap, man. I mean, the thought back then, Mark, of, oh, I could open this thing I can hold in my hand and play any song in the world for free.
Yeah.
Man, like, it's just nuts. Like, you know, and even myself, like, I am now accustomed to it, all the rest of it, but you don't have to go back too far to think, man, there was a time, you know, you had to buy that shit.
Yeah, you did.
You know, like, and, you know, I mean, as a DJ, you know, I spent thousands and thousands on, you know, CDs and, yeah, so, yeah, it's, but getting back to what you're saying with the, you know, TikToks and all that, the scrolling, man, it's everywhere, you know, and even then, circling back, that comes down to strategy.
Yeah.
You might need long form content or short and long complement each other, different platforms, you know, so it's all about strategy. Yeah.
So what is FaceBox doing now? What's cool? What's coming out? What's new for you guys? Where are you heading?
Yeah. Great question, man. So we sit in two places in the market. So one is bulk short form content for SMEs or small and medium business owners, right? The other is we do interactive video campaigns for government organisations.
Oh wow.
And we've just finished our third one actually. So these are typically road safety ads, but they're big crews, a lot of actors, a lot of storytelling, and you would not think that they're an ad. So they're a story, like a drama, it's dramatic. But instead of, going from episode to episode, what happens is at the end of the scene, you get to pick the direction you want to go in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For example, the opening scene on actually Anadu acted in the first one we did.
Oh, is this the Waka Kotahi?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
It took him ages to learn his part because he had to try and pretend to be a weed smoker, and it was so super hard.
Very challenging.
It was just
I can see
Lots
him
of
struggle with
study,
it.
yeah.
I mean, I will say this from my understanding, Andrew is very much a method actor.
Yes.
Of the sort that rivals De Niro and Pacino.
But he might cut us out.
Yeah, I can see this getting edited out of the podcast.
But the first picture two dudes rock up at this rural party, right?
Yeah.
And if they're farmers, they're chilled, get out of the car, let's go, Johnny. They walk in the house. As they walk in the house, a couple of horses walk past them. How's it, bro? They walk through the door, and the first question he's faced with is, Johnny looks over, and his mate Sid goes, "Shot, bro." And he looks up like that.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, Donna is coming down the hallway and she goes, "Johnny." And so he's got to choose between hooking up with Donna down the hallway or having a shot with the bro. Now, I wouldn't want to put any man in that position, right? And that's how we open it.
Right.
Yeah. We take it from there. But you said what's happening now, what's happening fresh. So we've just moved into a studio.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
It's a big move. At the end of the day, the decision come down to, well, worst case scenario, we lose everything and shoot on our iPhone and just edit on a computer at the library. So
Sure. And why not?
the studio's 7 times the size of our old studio. And the fit out will run into 6 figures. So there's a lot of building going on between podcast studio, cyclorama.
Yeah.
There's a 10-meter cyclorama, which is going to be freaking epic. As far as we know, it's the only one north of the bridge. I could be wrong. There might be another cyc up here. If you don't know what cyclorama is, just Google cyclorama film.
Yeah.
CYC. It starts with, it's like a big infinity white screen. Think of a skateboard bowl, but it's white and you can't ride a skateboard on it. So that's all happening. In the front, there's 3 parts to the studio, the front, the back, and then upstairs. It's like an elevator thing that connects them. In the front part, we potentially could be having like a working environment for different creative types.
Okay.
So potentially, we're just weighing up whether we do that or not. So almost like a working hub, almost like, how you can rent a desk and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it'll be more for creatives or marketing peeps, So potentially we're looking at that. The cycle will be finished next week, and we should be good in about 3 weeks as far as operation goes with everything else. Yeah, it's exciting, man. It's really exciting. We just started, before we moved out of that studio, flying clients up to us instead of traveling away. So we're looking at doing a lot more of that, bringing them up with package deals, so they can come spend a couple of days up here and just all their media is sorted for a year. Because what I didn't touch on is when I first started FaceBox, I knew unless I went to Auckland for work, I wouldn't last long. Yeah. Because of the population, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I just made a commitment and joined a networking group down there, and every 2 weeks I went down. Yeah. So the meeting started at 7. I would leave at like 4 a.m., drive down every fortnight, and to make sure I got value for the gas, because sometimes it was a pinch just to get gas money to go down, right? Yeah, yeah. To make sure that it worked, I would book out in advance a full day's worth of meetings every 2 weeks. So 85% of our clients are based in Auckland as a result of that.
That's crazy. So, last question for you. With the proliferation of phones nowadays that are able to take things like, wonderful videos, and you've got films like Tangerine, which were shot on iPhones.
That trailer? Damn.
Yep, I know.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Shot on iPhones, but still using pro audio gear, funnily enough, because I had to. And like with the likes of us being able to do this, how do you look at what you do and go, you know what, if I'd have had this gear like 5 years ago, I'd be in a completely different space?
Man, I don't think it comes down to the gear. I think you can make kick-ass shit with a phone. The problem, so there's two parts to this, right?
Yeah.
The problem is if you rock up to a corporate client,
Yes,
with an iPhone and for a film shoot, and they're paying you, 5, 10, 20, 30K, it's just not going to work, man. They're going to stop the shoot right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is why you'll see some guys, and they don't even need them. They'll get a big matte box on the front of their camera, on the front of the lens, because it just, there's a lot of memes out in the industry about it, because it just looks like it's worth more money.
Yeah.
Because that is the thing. I know, and I've worked with a DP who's a high-end commercial operator, and he literally bought a new camera just because he knew and it would not make a difference to what he's producing, but he knew certain clients wouldn't book him unless he had that model camera.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like, I wouldn't call it a status thing. It's kind of like, hey, there's an industry standard. If you're spending X amount of dollars on a creative project, or you're working with any kind of ad agency, right? But in saying that, man, sometimes the strategy doesn't call for overproduced content. It calls for reality type content. It calls for self-filming. There is nothing wrong with a cell phone. Your biggest, whatever you film on, the lighting is going to make the biggest difference as far as the picture is concerned.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a saying, audio is more than half the picture, and it's true. The audio is so important. But if your lighting is good, man, the cell phones today can take great pictures, where it comes down to, and what a lot of people, I feel, don't invest enough time in is the set. So it's the art direction. So it doesn't matter what camera you've got, whatever is in the background of that talent that you're filming, you're going to see. So it's, okay, what is there in the background, and how is that lit? And, there's certain methods around that. Worked with... who, if you haven't already, man, he'd be great on the podcast. This dude's a freak. Guy by the name of Fred Renata. So he's a DP, goes way back. He filmed the How Bizarre video, circling back to Pull It From Nana. Mudu, that come out in the cinema last year, he was a DP.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we had, we hired him for this project, and it was just like a lesson in how to film shit.
A masterclass.
Man, it was just everyone on set, all the crew were just soaking it up like sponges, mate. He's almost like the light whisperer, because he doesn't say much, but just amazing at what he does. So lighting is just crucial, man.
One of the organisations that proudly supports the Northland Artists Conversation is Creative Northland. I'm going to take just a moment to talk to you guys about it. Creative Northland have been absolutely vital in helping this project get off the ground through its infancy and all the way through to where we are now. We couldn't have done what we've done without their assistance. What we suggest is that if you're a creative person and you haven't heard of Creative Northland, we highly recommend that you reach out to them. Creative Northland, simply do a Google search. They're the top result. These guys are wonderful. They're all creatives in their own way, and they're all very, very well respected throughout the industry that they work in. They're very hardworking, absolutely committed and dedicated to helping the creative people throughout Northland, whether it be through simple things like starting up a project, all the way through to putting on like an exhibition, for example, all the way through to working out how they can start turning what they do into a business. It's all free advice. They give really, really good guidelines and helpful assistance to make sure that you, as a creative, are able to get the most out of what you do. Creative Northland, highly recommend them. Check them out. I would really like to thank you for taking the time to come in and sit down with us and talk about your life, because you're a very fascinating individual. And in a lot of ways, some of the things you've shared, I can look at them and go, I've had something similar. I've had something similar. I've had something similar. And because you were a guest that we wanted to get on relatively early on in the piece, the fact that you've actually made time for us, we really do appreciate it. It's been amazing, and learning about you and who you are and what you do, for me as someone who is also a creator as well, has been huge, and you've definitely given me a lot to think about. With these podcasts, we always learn something new, and I can definitely say with my hand on my heart, I've learned a shitload tonight. So, Kevin, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, Mark, your words, mate, they're like a warm bath on a cold winter's night. Like, I just want to step in, toes first, just gently, just ease into it.
Just dive on in,
mate. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm humbled, mate. I tell you what, it's been good. I enjoyed our conversation when we met for the first time at Hinueta's, farewell. And I'm going to enjoy, I'm pretty sure we're going to work together in some capacity in the future. I just feel that.
I really hope so.
Yeah, I think we are, man. And
same.
I'm going to look forward to that. So thank you for having me on. Yeah, much appreciated.
It's been a real pleasure from myself and producer Andrew. Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you. Chair. Love it. Nice.
There we go, folks. Kevin Etherington, the man. Man, what an amazing journey. DJing for 15 years. That's a hell of a long time. And it's super impressive. And how he just kind of transitioned back after having taken a wee break from filmmaking through to where he is now, definitely something to, aspire towards. The big, I think one of the big takeaways that I got from this was the fact that, if you just, he talks about, he mentions it right at the end. He talks about how he knew that the majority of his business and work was going to come from Auckland, and how he made that financial commitment to drive down once every 2 weeks and attend a network meeting, is amazing. If you always work hard and continue to grind away at your craft, something will happen. That's the thing I got out of it. It's never going to be handed to you. 9.5 times out of 10, it's never going to be handed to you. You've just got to do the work. And he has, and now he's in a fantastic position. So, Kevin, golf clap for you, sir. Kudos, well done. It's and I actually mean that genuinely and sincerely as well. Such a nice guy. I'm going to flick to my camera now. It was Even chatting with Kevin beforehand was amazing. We got to throw out some creative ideas and talk about them together, and it was. Yeah, it was super cool, and he is genuinely a really nice guy, super creative, and I think we're of roughly similar age. I think he might be like 3-4 years older than me, so in his late 30s. I got you, bro. But yeah, so where can you, the listener or viewer, find out more about our glorious podcasts? Kevin's and the amazing guests we've had prior and that we have coming up. Well, I'm going to go through them for you now. So for the socials, for audio, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. That's not audio, that's video. I'm an idiot. But again, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all Northland Artists Conversation. On audio, I'll get it right this time. You go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Again, all Northland Artists Conversation. We try to keep it simple. Now, if you're a creative and you would like to come in, sit down and be part of this, we would love to have you. Or if friends or family are watching this and you go, yeah, hey, I know someone that might be really, really cool, please feel free to email us. We would love to hear from you. That email address is hello@northlandartistsconversation.co.nz. Nice and simple. Now, we do have a Patreon page as well. Patreon is where you can go and support us. We have 2 tiers for Patreon. First tier, we've affectionately called a cup of coffee. Why do we call it a cup of coffee? Well, apparently, a lot of creative people like coffee. Makes sense. And that's $5 a month. What that does is that just says, hey, we believe in what you guys are doing. It's really cool. We want to keep supporting you. And you go from there. The second tier we have is Coffee Addict. Now that's $20 a month, but that gives you a few extras as well. You get a shout out on the podcast. You'll also get to know who our guests are coming up in advance. And if you would like me to ask our guest a question, you can just email us through there as well. Now there's 2 ways that you can get to Patreon. First one is go to Google, type in Patreon, that's Patreon, create an account, top right hand corner, search Northland Artists Conversation, pick a tier, go from there. Super easy. The even easier one is to go to www.patreon.com/Northland Artists Conversation. Boom. Top right hand corner, create an account, source us. Good to go. Pick your tier, go from there. I'm going to give a quick shout out to our patrons. Thank you guys for your amazing support. It's been absolutely wonderful. We cannot do this without you. Going to shout out to Jenny Purchase, who was amazing. Jenny, thank you so much. Really looking forward to seeing your book when that comes out. Maggie Coco, the hardest working touring musician that we know of. Keep going, you're doing amazing. Looking forward to getting you back in the chair as well. Michael Boda, this man is a writing machine and is getting ready for his next batch of horror short stories. Stay tuned, that'll be well worth it. And lastly, our 4th patron, the OG, the original, Lauren Roach. Thank you so much. Continuing to ride the success of Mila and the Bone Man. And looking forward to when that next book comes out, and then we'll get you back in the chair as well. We've got our eyes on you. Thanks, guys. Look, we really do appreciate it. It does mean a lot. It keeps this podcast going, and it's nice to have that support for something local as well. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm going to go to my wide camera now. As I said at the start, day's getting a bit longer. It's really nice. We've had a few weekends of sunshine, which has been good. But it's still a little bit chilly. So, enjoy yourself. Keep warm. From myself, your host, Mark Kelly, and from the rest of the team here at the Northland Artists Conversation, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys real soon.